Federal Executive Council approves draft medium-term expenditure framework 2023 to 2025.
Insecurity. Senate demands more from security agencies.
The country's national carrier, Nigeria Air, receives nod, leaves aircraft for immediate commencement of operations.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on issues in Nigeria's aviation industry.
For a while now, the global aviation industry has had its share of challenges, with countries taking a slice of these issues, Nigeria inclusive.
And the most daunting of these is the increase in the price of aviation fuel, also known as Jet A1. It moved from about 300 naira a litre to over 800 naira in less than 6 months.
Now, this has forced operators to either increase the cost of airfares or temporarily suspend business operations on some other routes, while some of the airline operators have also engaged in continuous delays or outright cancellation of flights.
Yes, and though the airline operators of Nigeria, AON, apologized to consumers for the inconsistencies, it also explained that consumers should expect major disruptions in scheduled flight operations, including cancellation and unnecessary delays across all airports in the country.
Now, Nigeria's aviation minister, Hadi Surika, says the challenge of accessing foreign exchange in the country has also aggravated the situation. He, however, adds that the government is doing a lot to address the situation and hopes that the refurbishment of the country's refineries will aid in bringing down the current price of aviation fuel.
You may recall the averted air crash at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport this month, which prompted the suspension of Dana Airlines air transport license and air operator certificate indefinitely with effect from midnight of Wednesday, 20th of July 2022 by the Nigerian Aviation Authority, as well as the shutting down of operations by Aero Contractor Airlines after over 60 years.
Well, yeah, Kirian, that's right. But just to add a slight amendment, what Aero announced, if you recall, was that it was suspending its operations, not shutting down. Shutting down would mean close of business, by the way, yes. Yeah, but it says that it's suspending its operations and it's Nigeria's oldest airline now, also the first private airline in the country. Now, the aero contractors and Dana Air, which made an air return at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, are two major airlines that, of course, while they operated eased air travel in the country. So the implications of their temporary exit at this time is quite serious, Kieran.
Yes, and just yesterday, the Federal Executive Council gave approval for the national carrier, Nigeria Air, to lease aircraft for immediate commencement of operations. This development could also help ease the country's air travel issues. That is, if they have a regular source of Jet A1, which of course is a major issue.
Right now, yes, yeah. So how are you going to get your own supplies? And then the maintenance of aircraft, which is denominated in hard currency, also has to contend with availability of forex. And you can see how the exchange rate is galloping on the parallel market. And in the meantime, the National Assembly saying that, look, they have to summon the governor of the central bank to explain the rapid devaluation or if you like, depreciation
Exactly, which is the result of
of
market
the naira.
forces. Market forces, you know.
Well, how many countries leave their currency to the operation of market
We are
forces?
not a production or producing nation. If you ask me, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you have less that you can export, you don't expect to have foreign exchange when you're not exporting as much as you should do at a certain stage of a country's life. That's just what it is.
Well, that's partly explains it,
Exactly,
Kirian. It
exactly,
partly explains it.
exactly.
But beyond these challenges, other issues that confront the aviation industry include multiple taxation system, maintenance. We already talked about that, as well as welfare concerns for its staff.
Yes, the efforts of government in addressing infrastructural issues at airports in the country, especially in the last 3 years, have assisted in dealing with the demands of an ever-increasing passenger traffic.
Now, the terms also of a number of bilateral air services agreement with other countries and related businesses have direct impact on the aviation industry in Nigeria.
These issues inform our focus on issues concerning Nigeria's aviation industry. And thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria this Wednesday. We broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. My name is Kirin Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolov. I joined my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to another edition of the program. As Kirian indicated, we are live on the network service of the NTA from our Abuja headquarters studios. It's a wet morning here in the nation's capital. In the course of the program, we have our usual supplementary segments, and this includes business and newspaper review. For now, let's take the highlights of the morning news with Lydia Ochi. Good morning, Lydia.
Good morning, Kingsley and Kiran, and here is the morning news. The Federal Executive Council has approved a draft medium-term expenditure framework for 2023 to 2025. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed announced this while briefing journalists after the weekly meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The size of the Nigerian economy, she says, is projected to rise up to between 225.5 trillion naira to 280.7 trillion naira during the period, thereby making the country retain its position as the largest economy in Africa.
Oil price is offset by lower oil output as at April, which has stood at 1.3 million barrels per day. NNPC attributes this low oil production to the high incidence of crude oil theft as well as pipeline vandalization. We reported to Council that gross oil revenues that have accrued January to April is 1.23 trillion compared to the prorated target for the period of 3.12 trillion. This represents just a mere 39%. That is for oil and gas revenue.
Senators of the opposition party have resolved to serve impeachment notice to President Muhammadu Buhari if he does not address the issue of insecurity in the country within 6 weeks. Minority Leader of the Senate, Philip Aduda, raised this through a motion which was overruled by President of Senate Ahmed Lawan, who said he was not aware of the motion as provided by the Senate standing orders.
First, you are supposed to cite the order. Second, you are supposed to discuss with me what you are going to discuss. You didn't. Thirdly, I read the progress report. Thirdly, when I read it, when some of our colleagues were still not listening. Thirdly, we have already passed that stage. Look at where we are today. So, just hold on, please. So, at this moment, that point of order, I don't know what it is, but falls flat on its face.
Walkout by the minority senators. Meanwhile, the presidency has described the walkout of PDP senators from Wednesday's plenary as babyish. A statement by the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, says Senate President Ahmed Lawan's refusal to entertain the ridiculous motion to impeach President Muhammadu Buhari was quite appropriate and correct. He adds that rather than making a mockery out of voters by trying to imitate what they see in America, the opposition would be well advised that their time would be better spent tackling the pressing issues Nigerians face, such as the current global cost of living crisis. Their continued failure to do so goes some way to explaining why they remain in opposition. In contrast, the Buhari administration is committed to finding lasting solutions to the emerging security threats, including those left behind by the PDP in the South-South, the Northeast, and throughout the Federation. In the last 24 hours, 2 more Chibok girls were freed in addition to 3 brought home last week. The statement also indicates that these kinds of headline-grabbing stunts, for which the opposition is now well known, serve no one, least of all their constituents. Garba Shehu noted that oppositions are respectfully reminded that it is those same constituents that they were elected to serve and are paid to do so with public money. The statement also stated the APC would welcome their collaboration in the current administration's efforts to solve the problems Nigerians face on a daily basis, rather than wasting time attempting to impeach a democratically elected president at the end of his second term. Garba Shehu stated that the opposition should ask themselves, do they want to be in government or do they want to be in the headlines? If they want to be in government, they should start acting like it and stop undermining Nigerian voters. Determined to derive maximum benefits from the abundant mineral resource potentials in the country, the Nigerian Mining Value Chain Regulations Policy has been approved by the federal government.
Whatever you mine, even if you are unable as the miner to process, we're inviting investors, we're having people who will build processing plants. This government of President Buhari, post-COVID, granted some funds, and this fund is being used as demonstration project for this mineral processing policy.
Approval has also been granted Nigeria Air, the national air carrier, to lease aircraft for immediate commencement of operations.
For the first instance, to do the runs, and then we progress. As to the make and type, most of them are either Airbus or they are Boeing, especially for the intercontinental and international flights. And this will start as domestic airline, and then would of course grow to become regional and international, also intercontinental.
Leaders must meet the demand for integrity, patriotism, and be result-oriented in the discharge of their responsibilities to Nigerians. This came to the fore at the induction of chief executive officers, chairmen and members of governing boards of federal parastatals and commissions in Abuja.
A minister exercises control at parastatals at policy level through the board of the parastatals only. The board must only operate as a part-time board in accordance with extant rules. The national development aspirations of our country are very well captured in the 2021 to 2025 National Development Plan, which is the product of a bottom-up approach in formulation with a very clear and coherent implementation strategy.
Police authorities in Ondo State have confirmed another gun attack in Owo. The attack, according to the police, occurred at Craneberg Construction Company in the town, leaving many injured. The victims have been taken to the hospital where they are receiving treatment, and the scene of the attack has been cordoned off by the police. And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Kieran after this break. Stay with us.
The National Automotive Design and Development Council is committed to developing a comprehensive ecosystem necessary for the growth and sustainability of the local automotive industry. We have built 18 automotive training centers across the nation to empower young Nigerians in mechatronics and spare parts testing centers to protect the Nigerian consumer. The NADDC is dedicated to developing a vibrant automotive sector to empower local talent and to create jobs. As the world goes green, we have enabled the start of production of electric vehicles in Nigeria and have developed 100% solar-powered EV charging stations. We are now focused on enabling the mass production of electric vehicles that are affordable, eco-friendly, and especially engineered for Nigerian conditions. I am Jilani Aliyu. Patronize vehicles built in Nigeria.
Everywhere you go, from banks to hospitals to public offices, mass transit stations, airports, and even telecommunication centers, senior citizens are treated as nuisances. They are not. They are senior members of our society, and they deserve the utmost respect. We shouldn't be having our aged fathers and mothers standing in long queues to withdraw their monies at banks. Our retired senior citizens shouldn't be caught standing in buses for lack of seats or chasing after one just to get to their destination. Senior citizens shouldn't have to sit long hours in hospital corridors with no geriatric specialist to attend to them. Our senior citizens deserve better treatment from all of us. They deserve to be listened to. They are deserving of seat reservations on public buses and priority attendance in public spaces. As young people, we are quick to say, no one owes you. This is not true. We owe the elderly members of our society a helping hand, our services, and respect. Age-friendly societies have more senior citizens enjoying good health, living safely, and engaging in meaningful community work than those who do not. Dignifying age-friendly services for senior citizens.
We are the dynamic global energy company of choice, steering the course of Nigeria's biggest export industry. With years of commitment, delivering greater value and improving lives, NMPC is transformed to better meet your everyday energy needs and retain the position as the largest contributor to the Nigerian economy, generating clean, sustainable energy with integrity, excellence, and creating value for all stakeholders. We are NMPC Limited.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youth, let's build our nation together.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
All right, if you just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. Now, let's talk business. Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, targets partnership with the D8 to strengthen economic and trade integration. Let's now join Kunle Adeye for more on that.
The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDEN, has hinted it will leverage on partnerships within the D8 to promote, encourage, and support the activities of MSMEs at the national level as well as within the D8 region to further strengthen economic trade and commercial integration. Developing Aid is primarily established for the development of cooperation among countries like Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Turkey. The Director General SMEDAN, Olawale Fasanya, remarked that having submitted a proposal, a positive response from the D8 Center for Small and Medium Enterprises is imminent. He is quite categorical that intimacy with key stakeholders will birth a positive shift in micro, small and medium enterprises development in Nigeria, given its critical status in the economy. He equally identified regular interagency cooperation and networking with stakeholders to leverage on available opportunities to close the gaps among key players within the MSME space. Fasanya said the challenges of SMEs usually border on access to finance, market, equipment, information, technical and entrepreneurial skills, including workspace. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for the business package. Coming up next for us is newspaper review.
Bayo Atoebi, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kira. Good morning. Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Bayo, good to see you. It's another work morning here in the
Yes,
capital.
yes.
Not cats and dogs, though.
Yes.
Yeah, but
It's drizzling. The kind of rain that makes you feel that it will soon be over, and before you know it permeates the whole day.
Exactly.
In Benin, how it is described.
Yes.
Ugie will come.
How does that translate?
It translates to a kind of rainfall that doesn't allow goats to browse around because the rain is falling and they cannot be out. So the rain stops for a while and then they think they want to go out and then on and on. So Ugia will come. That's what it is called. All right, let's take a look at the three papers we have this morning. We have The Punch, The Nation, and also the window page of Al Jazeera. The lead story for the Punch newspaper, let's kick off with that. Lead story for the Punch newspaper comes with a kicker, ISWAP, that is Islamic State of West Africa Province. Fear spreads, presidency and senators clash over impeachment threat. Every three riders. Abuja, Nasarawa schools shot. Residents fear terrorist attacks. Slam federal government. Opposition senators give Buhari 6-week ultimatum to end insecurity. And presidency lampoons opposition senators, says they are babyish. You have details of that story on page 2. Now let's go above that. There's an earpiece there beside the nameplate. Says food crisis imminent. House raises the alarm. And Naira falls 34% to 710 Naira. Senate summons Emefiele. Subsidy probe. Reps say 23 oil firms unknown. And Khan's opposition to Muslim ticket godly, says Dogara. Dogara, of course, is the former Speaker of the House of Reps. Review water bill, state governors tell lawmakers. And then further down, you see the photographs on the front page there of the Punch, along with the headline, ASU strike. Labour continues protests, slams politicians again. Army rescues 2 more Chibok girls and others. Nasarawa cop rapes niece, Ekiti father impregnates stepdaughter. Banker and robber killed as gunmen wheel bullion van. That was in Abia State. Abuja policemen invade Lagos house, rob businessman and brother. Those are the headlines. Al Jazeera is the same story we have for its lead. It says Al Jazeera now on Thursday rather. Senators to Buhari, end insecurity of face impeachment. You also have there, reps move to end ASU strike. 2023 budget, federal government to spend 5.33 trillion naira on salaries. Korea awards scholarships to 29 federal government officials. Tinubu Shatima Dogara kicks over Muslim ticket. I read that already. Nasarawa government orders closure of schools. That's primary and secondary schools. And APC nominates Gobri as new Senate leader and caucus chair. Kirian.
All right, now let's go to the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, we have some striking headlines here. Rising aviation fuel price forces airlines to cut flights. Rising aviation fuel price forces airlines to cut flights. It's on page 7. Of course, the governors reject water resources bill, inconsistent with the law. It's on page 28. Now, bakers seek suspension of government fees on bread. It's on page 8. And then Buhari appoints Omar as Kaduna Poly rector. The full details on page 2. Now, the lead story, there are stories before the lead story, rather. Let's get this. APC names Gabriel Senate leader, but Kingsley just read that. University strike, Labour, ASU, adamant, we can stay off work for 2 years. That's on page 28. Oshu NAF, partner on aviation city. It's fully captured on page 28. Now the lead story, Senate in stormy session over renewed attacks by bandits. 3 riders to that. Minority senators walk out, give Buhari 6-week ultimatum. Security not a partisan concern, Senate tells opposition members. Federal government, we are bringing situation under control. Well, you can get the details of all that on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Let's bring in Bayo now.
Thank you, Kiran. Well, let's start with the good news that came from the Federal Executive Council yesterday, that the federal government has approved 3 aircrafts, one to be in the Boeing and the Boeing series to start Nigerian Air, that's the national carrier. And all things being equal, it will start its operation on domestic route and then grow from regional to intercontinental. The story that has dominated all the papers are the story on the impeachment. Some senators, predominantly of the minority party, walked out of the Senate plenary yesterday. The Senate had gone into executive session where they discussed issues relating to security. Upon resumption to plenary, the minority leader raised a point of order. The Senate president ruled that he was out of order because for 3 reasons, one of which was that he didn't cite the order for which he was raising a point of order. Accordingly, this led to the walking out of the plenary by most of the minority party leaders, led by Philip Aduda, the minority leader. Others who joined are the members of the People's Democratic Party, the Abuja, NNPP, and some All Progressive Congress members who actually did not succeed in winning their ticket back to the Senate. They kept on chanting, all we are saying is that Buhari must go, Nigeria must survive, Ahmed Lawal should follow. They addressed a press conference and they have issued a 6-week ultimatum to the president to resolve the worsening insecurity in the country or face impeachment. The implication of this is that by the time you look at the vote of proceedings of yesterday, you are not likely to find it because it was not discussed at plenary. Meanwhile, the former Senate leader, Majority Leader Yahya Abdullahi, says that the Senate was unable to agree on the motion to impeach the president. The Senate, he says, resolved to give 6 weeks for all their resolutions and other moves to be implemented by the government. Otherwise, they will look into the Constitution and address the issue from the constitutional state point of view. On this same issue, the Minister of Information also said yesterday that government is working 24 hours to bring the situation under control. He revealed that there's going to be another Security Council meeting today. The president is not taking the security situation lightly. He says some measures are being taken, but they cannot be discussed in the open. Government is concerned and will not abandon its responsibility. Meanwhile, at the House of Representatives, they adjourned plenary to proceed on their annual vacation for 7 weeks. This House is to resume in September 20th. Meanwhile, in supporting the motion for the vacation, the minority leader Ndudu Elumelu enjoined members to go back to their constituency because Abuja, according to him, is no longer safe. The presiding deputy Senate president, Honorable Idris Wasi, chided the minority leader and said, no one should play politics with security. He says it is everybody's business, and adding that Abuja and all parts of the country will be secured. The other interesting story which Kyria read is that a Nigerian baker, the managing director of a bakery, has advised that bakers, rather than lament on high cost of inputs of bread, should look for alternative. And he has suggested that there is an indigenous potato, what he described as orange flesh potato, as a possible substitute for wheat. And one begins to wonder, what became of that long project in about some 4 years ago about using cassava as a substitute or to supplement for bread?
The previous administration took it higher, to a high level when Akinwumi Adesina, was the Minister of Agriculture. He took it to a point where, every Nigerian, was talking about it, cassava bread. As a matter of fact, some bakers took that up, and have some sections of their production line dedicated to cassava, bread. But along the line, it fizzled out. Even when this administration came to power, there was some moves, towards, sustenance of that project. But it didn't last, and it just fizzled out. And if that had continued, we would have been enjoying the benefits of that now, because of course, most of us would have been familiar with cassava made bread. I have taken that. If the minister then was going from one state to the other to show that look, this is possible, and we have this cassava in abundance. Yet we are relying on importing wheat. There's nothing wrong in having wheat bread, but you could have them side by side, cassava and wheat. As a matter, so you have a choice to make.
I think eventually, whether we like it or not, necessity will become the mother of invention. Again, if we were to go back some few years back, there was a deliberate wheat program, and Jigawa, Dutse, and Borno State were the lead producers of wheat in this country. What became of it? We start very fine programs, but somehow along the line, we don't seem to sustain it.
Well, listen to Professor Gambo. He's a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria.
Yes.
He's Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture at Yobe State University in Damaturu. And he will explain to you that inconsistency in policy implementation is the bane of the agricultural subsector of the economy. Now, if wheat farmers don't have off-takers, if wheat farmers are not certain of price stability, if they don't get their inputs at the right time, and the kind of things that are needed to be done to ensure that whatever crop we consider to be a national crop of priority, such as we took rice, then you are going to have epileptic production of that grain, and it's a very critical grain. Perhaps the rapprochement that Russia and Ukraine have reached with regard to grain exports could provide some relief in the meantime, because they say that Russia has agreed to create an aperture for the export of Ukrainian wheat through grains. Of course, that will include wheat, because Ukraine it's one of the world's largest producers of wheat.
Both Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, but that's only one leg of this. Yes. That's only one leg of the story. Now, the Kyria was talking about Akinwumi Adesina. Yeah, Akinwumi Adesina at the ministerial platform here in Abuja, at the Federal Executive Council, bread that was baked with cassava component was eaten live. I mean, I also took some of the bread, and if you went to some of the shops in town, you had them on their shelves.
Yes.
So no questions are asked. And sometimes our policy direction is unidirectional. In other words, we face one thing and then we neglect every other thing else. You say rice. Okay, we have attained self-sufficiency in rice, but look at the price of rice. And other things are also critical. Even if you were to provide all the wheat that bakers need today, are you going to also get a substitute for diesel?
Yeah, that's That's just it. As a matter of fact, when that cassava bread initiative came, I mean, many Nigerians didn't believe it was going to be a reality, but it came to the fore, and everybody started eating cassava bread then. But it fizzled out. Like all other projects and programs of government that the operators have refused to, allow to metamorphose into a reality that people can now, have confidence in or depend on. For instance, if we have cassava bread in Nigeria today, we wouldn't be bothering so much about Ukraine, Russia, war, and what have you. And the window now opened, at the Black Sea to allow the Ukrainian grains, to leave that Black Sea port. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have any grain. You know why? Because there's high competition. But just Southeast Asia, Asians,
yes, the whole of the Arab world.
The whole of the Arab world. That's the flower crescent. The flower crescent. If you recall, at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russian conflict, I raised it here because Egypt is Africa's largest consumer of wheat exports from Ukraine, Russia. Egypt then started taking domestic measures to ensure that the shortfall in supplies could be augmented. But what was our response? And that's part of the reason why we're having this now. And that's one. But there's something else that should also be of interest. Let me throw this in before we wrap it up. I know that you are itching to say something. We keep talking about mining. Sometimes our voices are louder than the outcome of our exertions. In Angola, an Australian mining operator has discovered the largest pink diamond in 300 years.
Pink diamond?
Pink. It's called a Lula Rose. That diamond is 170 carat. They have discovered it, and of course, by the time it is auctioned, chances are that based on the cost of about 5 years ago, of $71.2 million for nearly 60 carat pink diamond, you're going to find out the price of that. So why am I saying this? We keep talking about mining. You're almost deafened by the noise we make about mining, but what is the outcome? What we're having is just sometimes gold panning, people who are just scratching the surface. But look at what serious countries would do about mining, because you get a company, you get real investors to get in there and then buy the products. If you recall, years ago, very little was heard about Angolan oil. And at some point, Angola overtook Nigeria as the largest producer of oil on the African continent. We should learn from these things and then get our acts together.
If we look deep, it's not impossible we'll find that pink diamond in Nigeria.
Well, the thing is that I'm one of those who wouldn't want to hear anything about mining, planning, and whatever, because, you've been interviewing people, ministers, DGs, directors of all sorts, mining matters for over 10 years, and we keep hearing the same thing over and over again. I heard it today again, what I've had over 10 years ago. So what is the sense in it?
Roadshow.
What is the sense in it? So if you keep hearing one thing for 10 years, then that thing is impossible. That's what it means. It's impossible. It's impracticable. All right. Before we round up, we don't have time anymore. I'm just wondering why BBC reporters could question the record, at which our lady who won the 100 meters hurdle in the ongoing athletics in Oregon.
It's simple.
These two reporters
it's
are
because
questioning
their commentator, Mike
seconds.
Johnson,
yes,
their commentator who was working for them, has impugned the record. But don't forget that Usain Bolt said Super Toby.
Okay.
Endorsing it.
All right.
In the meantime, the same BBC, if you read their online reports, they were showering praise on their own sprinter, Aisha Smith, who won the bronze in 100 meters. Page after page was dedicated to her. And they're also writing that, maybe it's the shoes, the spikes on the shoes that she wore.
They were wondering.
Let's not extrapolate what they said. She has set a new world record, 12.12, and the rest of the world, including us Nigerians, we are celebrating our daughter.
Simple. And Michael Johnson said that you don't beat Kendra Harrison by such margin. That was the record holder before. So,
it is not uncommon.
That's what sports is all about.
There was a time Nigeria played football with England.
Yes.
There was a free kick. Austin JJ Okocha kicked it. It went over the ball. You know what the commentator said? I wonder if goalposts are that high in their country. Then Becker came and took another free kick, and he went over the bar. You know what the commentator said? He said, no, he must have hit the ball on the wrong side of the field.
All right, thank you very much.
Very interesting comment. The same Michael Johnson had a world record in 400 meters for many years,
yes,
until the South African Van Niekerk broke that record. And I think maybe that's why he's talking now.
Okay, we end it here. We'll come back again tomorrow for another session of newspaper review. Bayo, thank you for being here as always. Now, this is Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. Our topic today is focusing on the aviation industry. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll get on with that.
Accidental Journalist in Nigeria's Political and Economic History, a book written by NTA's veteran and quintessential journalist Cordelia Okwoma, is scheduled for public presentation on Thursday, the 28th of July 2022 at the National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja by 2 p.m. The 241-page book is an autobiography which chronicles her life of over 3 decades as a journalist in NTA. Chairman of the occasion is Engineer Charles Odita, former Group Managing Director of Midwestern Oil and Gas Company, while the father of the day is Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, Governor of Delta State, and mother of the day, Dickness Nkechi Ikpeazu, wife of the Abia State Governor. Book reviewer is former Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja, Professor Nuhu Yakub, while Chief Guest of Honor is the Acting Director General of NTA, Malam Abdul Hamid Saliu Dembos. Signed, Sir Ken Nonso Nwolu, Chief Host, Announcer.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Millions of Nigerians have received COVID-19 vaccine. I have taken my own. What about you? We have taken our own. What about you? I am strong and healthy. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We are strong and healthy. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Go get, go and get your job. The hospitals, churches, and the mosques. Go and get your job. Health centers, hurry up now. Don't be late. Go and get your job. Bye bye, Corona. Bye bye, Corona. This message is brought to you by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA.
Hello, everyone. Hope you people have linked your NIN now. Don't be like my son Oshegun, who had to wait for his land to be disconnected.
Yes, mommy, but I am now reconnected. Yes. I went to Airtel shop, enrolled for my NIN, and re-registered my line. Simple and short, no stress. It didn't end there. Airtel rewarded me with a November bonus of 20,000 naira free airtime and data to access all my social media accounts. If you already have NIN, all you need to do is dial *121# or visit the Airtel website to get link up. Get on it.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
We are the dynamic global energy company of choice, steering the course of Nigeria's biggest export industry. With years of commitment, delivering greater value and improving lives, NNPC is transformed to better meet your everyday energy needs and retain the position as the largest contributor to the Nigerian economy, generating clean, sustainable energy with integrity, excellence, and creating value for all stakeholders. We are NNPC Limited.
Come on.
that, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Our program today focuses on issues in Nigeria's aviation industry. And now let's get our correspondent Garba Natala to give us a lead into the conversation.
Air transport, being a critical aspect of a country's economic development, has become a hub for core commercial airline business. In Nigeria, the aviation sector has long been facing challenges, making it difficult for domestic carriers to thrive when compared with their counterparts from other countries. For years, the aviation sector is known for its immense contribution to the nation's economy and provided jobs for thousands of Nigerians. The narrative has changed, considering the nature of antecedents Nigerian air travelers are currently going through at airports, like flight cancellations and delays that comes without prior notice and waiting for several hours before boarding their flights, and without stating the reasons for the delays. This development caught the attention of the Aviation Committee at the National Assembly to investigate why.
Providing funding and keeping the industry is good. But again, one aspect which must be equally catered for is the well-being of the workers in the aviation industry.
On account of the looming availability of aviation fuel, it is at its all-time high, which operators cited as their major problem. The high demand for forex has also taken its toll on both airliners and passengers, which pushed airfare higher as carriers compete to remain afloat. Therefore, disruptions in local flights are imminent. To further increase the pressure in the aviation industry, domestic carriers came to terms based on their limited capacity to operate with low profit margins, lack of funding and implementation of policies, levies to various government agencies, taxation, and many more, adds to the burden despite the huge investments made by successive governments. For experts, Nigeria can surmount its challenges. However, what are stakeholders suggesting moving the industry forward? How can the plan of ease of doing business come to play in the sector? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers to these questions and more.
Atala, thank you very much for that background. With us to discuss issues around the aviation sector, let's welcome here in the Abuja studios, Godi Ike, who is an aviation industry analyst. Godi, we're glad to have you this morning.
Oh, wonderful. Good morning.
Okay. And from our Lagos Network Center, we've been joined by a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, is Captain Roland Iyayi. Captain Iyayi is the former managing director of Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, NAMA. Captain Iyayi, glad to have you this morning.
Kingsley, Good Morning Nigeria.
Also via Zoom this morning is Captain Musa Nuhu, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. DG, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. We are soon to be joined by another guest via Zoom when the connection is right, and he's Bello Ahmed Al-Khali. When that connection is well put in place, we'll be able to establish link with him. For now, you are welcome to the program, gentlemen. Kinsley.
All right. But let's begin with Captain Roland Iyayi. As I said, is a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, along, of course, with Godi Ike, who's here with us in the Abuja studios. Captain Roland, just what is happening in the aviation industry? I mean, the much that one can see on the surface is, for instance, earlier this year, airline operators announced that for a 1-hour domestic flight, the list fare will be 50,000 naira. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission waded in and directed the airline operators to revert to the former fares, but the airline operators were adamant. And just a couple of weeks ago now, the airline operators have further increased airfares for at least a 1-hour flight within the country. It varies anytime, anything from 60 to 70, sometimes depending on the time you are booking your flights, it could be up to 100,000 We hear stories about aviation fuel. We hear stories about cancellation and delays. Is there a crisis in the aviation industry?
Indeed, the industry is in dire straits. I mean, there's a crisis in the aviation sector. We cannot run away from a fact. We talk about fuel. Fuel has been a major consideration. It's been a major component of operations. And typically, we're talking about 40% to 50% of your direct operating cost as fuel. Now, there was a time you could buy fuel at 118 naira per liter. At the point in time, we had an exchange rate of about 150 to the dollar. Today, a liter of fuel is about 1,000 naira per liter. So when you look at the way, the trajectory, it is showing that, you know, the cost of fuel has gone over 5 times what is used to, what it used to be in the last 24 months. Now, the margins airlines have is less than 5% of their total. So if you're talking about a situation where fuel, a component that sort of comprises about maybe 40 to 50% of your cost, having gone up about 5 times the cost, it is, I mean, there's no way you can look at an airline sustain the same pricing for airline tickets. So it is impossible to sustain what airlines have been doing over the years. So invariably, what we have now is a situation where it's been compounded by the fact that there's a scarcity of foreign exchange for airlines to even be able to acquire spares to maintain their operations safely. So with all of these factors, it's become very important that airlines actually review their pricing to indicate the current trends. I mean, there's no way they can sustain fares that are below cost. You must produce at a particular cost. And for you to stay in business, it has to be cost plus profit. Right now, I'm not even sure airlines are able to mark up on the cost, let alone talk about profit. So it's a very, very difficult situation airlines are faced with.
All right. Thank you indeed. And let's go to Musa Nuhu, DG and CEO of Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. Well, my question is doing the same line with the first one put out by my colleague, and that has to do with take an overview, you know, of the industry, you know, and give us your own view with respect to the current situation in that industry. You can be specific, you know, in terms of you know, making references to some of the factors that have, of course, plunged the nation into the current situation in the aviation industry.
Thank you very much. We cannot look at the aviation industry outside the current economic situation in Nigeria. As the previous speaker, Mr. Roland mentioned, we indeed have a crisis. And first of all, there's the scarcity and availability of Jet A1, which is a significant component of the direct operating cost of any airline. The increase in price has gone about 5 times over what it used to be in less than a year. And to compound matters, not only the scarcity of the foreign exchange, but the exchange rate itself has deteriorated significantly, doubly increasing the cost of part of the airline's operations in terms of maintenance, training of pilots, buying spare parts. And on the Jet A1 fuel, due to the crisis in Ukraine and Russia, the international price of Jet A1 has increased significantly. At the same time, the value of the Naira has decreased significantly per the dollar, thus giving a jeopardy to the cost of airline operations in Nigeria. Indeed, we do have a serious crisis. We've started the financial economic health audit of some couple of airlines, and what do I say? It's not sustainable. A significant amount of their money is wiped out in terms of just getting Jet A1 to fall the aircraft. Unfortunately, flight delays, cancellations come. When an airline goes out, it takes hours to negotiate And some of the airlines, because of previous debt they have with the fuel suppliers, the fuel suppliers insist on cash payment. So if you're operating a flight, you have to get 4 or 5 million, depending on how much fuel they're paying to pay the fuel suppliers cash to get the fuel. So all this contribute to making an already bad situation worse. And for us and the Civil Aviation Authority, it just increases the amount of work we have to do, because we have to continue heightened surveillance on the airline to ensure that despite these difficulties, which we acknowledge, they still comply with safety regulations. So it's not the best situation, but we can assure the traveling public who are doing their best to work with the airlines to ensure the continuous safe operations of all flights.
Captain Musa Nuhu, thank you very much for your opening comments. But while your Zoom connection is still good, well, let's maximize your presence with us at the moment. Can you indicate to our viewers the extent of the impact all of this probably would have on the larger economy? Yes, you say that the issues in the aviation industry cannot be isolated from what's happening in the larger economy. But to the extent that the aviation sector itself is getting squeezed, what are the likely ripple effects?
Could you please repeat the question?
All right. I'm sure that you heard the preface to my question. What are the likely ripple effects of the situation that the aviation industry currently is in Nigeria? That is to say, what is the knock-on effect on other subsectors of the economy if this situation were to persist with aviation?
Well, over the last couple of years, due to some challenges and some difficulties we're having by the land transportation, aviation has become the preferred means of transportation. I remember when I used to work in presidential air fleet, I drove to Kano under 5 hours and I could come back the same day. But these days, there's no way I'm going to take that risk. A lot of people will not take that risk. They go by air. So aviation has become more critical than what it's been to the economy. And with the difficulties the airlines have, it's going to have a significant impact on economic activities. Aviation globally is known as a catalyst for economic growth, for economic development. So we just all have to sit down together and find a solution out of this. It's going to have, if airlines start shutting down, or we have to shut down airlines or suspend their operations due to the inability to continue operating safely because of the difficult situations they have. And it's going to have a significant negative impact on the economy. People can travel, businesses will be affected, goods and services cannot be transported. So it's something we must all work together. We're all in this together. We must put our hands, both the government, the agencies, the industry. We must all put our hands together and come up with solutions that will resolve this. If the situation as is just not sustainable, it just can't go on. And recently we had to suspend the operations of Dana because what we've seen financially it's not sustainable, and we had some concerns because of those financial issues, the consequences, and on the safety of operations. So it's not the best situation. In fact, it's a horrible situation we find ourselves in. But and I keep saying to the traveling public, we will keep doing our best to ensure the safety of operations. And sometimes we might take decisions that are not very palatable to the traveling public, but priority for us is safety of operations. But also, aviation is a business. It's a catalyst of economic growth. So we just have to find a solution to get the conundrum, the industry out of the conundrum it finds itself. And as I said earlier, this is all part and parcel of the status of the national economy. the devaluation of the naira is more devastating on aviation because of a significant part of its component is foreign spare parts, acquiring the aircraft themselves, getting the spare parts, training of flight crew, getting manuals, and a lot of things are all done in foreign exchange. And the scarcity and the devaluation of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar is a double whammy on the airline industry.